Shalom, shalom, everyone. As you see, things look slightly different tonight. I'm doing some new stuff. Hopefully you all are seeing me good and hearing me good. Trying to put together some new things. And hopefully it works out well. So it's a new studio, new everything. So don't have my beautiful introduction like I normally would. Matter of fact, let me see if I can bring that up. I'm experimenting with a lot of new things. Let me see if I can bring that up. All right, so I think I can do this. So I'm going to go ahead and try to go ahead and start without opening and see how we got this. This is a whole different world to me. It's like starting all over again. I got so used to my original studio, but having to move out of that and start with a new one is, yeah. Amen, amen, amen. That is crazy. All right, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to practice this, people. But we still going to have a good old show. Let's see how this go. I'm so used to an old studio that this one is kind of warping me out a little bit. But just want to say shalom to everyone. You're watching me, Rosh Ya'acob Abraham. This is my take with Rosh Ya'acob. Happy to see each and every person on there. Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. Agenda for the night is still the same, even though it's a new face, new show, all this kind of stuff. Still going to do things basically the same. We want to start off with the breaking news. I got a few different things for y'all for the breaking news. So we're going to start off with the breaking news. And then from the breaking news, we're going to go into the artist of the week. And then from the artist of the week, we're going to get into why you all are here. Since we're starting late tonight, not expecting to be on long. Since we're starting late tonight. So with no further ado, let's get this thing started. Okay. So we'll start off with our breaking news. And it was several things. That's how I can start off with our foreign stuff for right now. Sorry, I don't have a breaking news thing set up yet. I got to figure out how to do all of that. So we just want to get into it. With our breaking news, this story is coming to us concerning Hades and what's going on in Hades.
Ongoing violence in Haiti is getting worse. U.S. authorities now warning all Americans still in that country to get out now. Local 10's Leanne Morahone is live. She's at MIA with the latest on this. Leanne.
And the gang violence has really ratcheted up, according to the expert we spoke to in the last few weeks.
An urgent warning from the U.S. Embassy in Haiti, sending out this security alert late Wednesday that reads in part, quote, given the current security situation and infrastructure challenges, U.S. citizens in Haiti should depart Haiti as soon as possible via commercial or private transport. This comes a month after the State Department ordered non-emergency personnel and their families out of the country. Haiti has been reeling since the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse 2 years ago, which spurred an increase in kidnappings, unrest, and gang violence.
The situation on the ground in Haiti, particularly in the Port-au-Prince metropolitan region, which is the largest urban area of the country, has gotten much worse in the last few weeks. And
Paul Namfi of the Family Action Network movement names two particularly heinous incidences of recent bloodshed.
There was the massacre in Kofufe, where approximately 54 people lost their lives. And then 5 days ago, there was a procession where people in the neighborhood of Canaran, which is just north of the capital, Port-au-Prince, were led by a pastor into basically a procession against gang violence, and basically gang members machine gun them to death.
The embassy warning.
So if you are in any of these places, and this just remind us about being in foreign places, if you're in any of these places, get out now. Again, y'all seen my show a couple of weeks ago, especially when I reported on Dubai. You know, we like to go out of the country. Yeah, we want to travel, want to have fun. And then you get over there and it's you in the middle of a civil war. Right? These people are in the middle of a civil war right now. And even the embassy like, hey, you guys, y'all need to get out of here. So definitely want to put this for all my people I know that love to travel to the islands. You know, just be wise. Be wise.
Flights from the Caribbean nation are few and fill up fast.
And Namfi also points out that as bad as the situation has been all this year, the Biden administration has sent back hundreds of Haitians to the country. In fact, we learn, according to The Hill, that the administration did send a deportation flight to Port-au-Prince just this morning. Reporting live here at MIA, Leanne Morahone, Local 10 News.
Yeah, so there we have it with that. Another case. There's something that happened to a teacher. I just felt akin to this for all my teachers out there. Y'all are fearless. There's something that happened to a teacher I was just like, huh? This is crazy. Watch this.
Pages.
Ooh.
Are you serious? Who threw this shoe? Who threw this shoe at me? Literally, who threw this shoe? Get the police. Get the police.
She said, get the police.
Who threw this shoe?
I'm sorry.
Speak up.
This is, I kept looking at this
So
trying
you
to figure out, was
ain't got
this a
what you
skit? I'm like, is this a skit?
That's not mine. This is definitely your shoe.
Because we see clearly it's
Are
her
you serious
shoe.
right now?
And she gonna say,
Are you serious
that's
right
not
now?
mine.
You really took your shoe off and thought it was okay to throw a shoe at me? That's not my shoe. It's definitely your shoe.
Oh my goodness,
Really?
yo.
Really. This is your shoe.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Prove it.
I am proving it. You have one
Then
shoe
she
on
said, "Prove
and one
it."
shoe off.
I just
That's
wore
great.
one.
Literally, at this point, let me
This is crazy.
express something to you. I am not your mother.
Mm-mm. Give it up to the teachers out there. Give it up to the
I
teachers.
did not come to school
Give
to
it up to
play
the
with
teachers.
nobody
This is crazy. This right here.
else's
crazy.
kids.
Okay.
That was totally disrespectful for you to
That's
throw
it.
a shoe while I'm
Very disrespectful. Give it up to the
trying to
teachers.
teach my class.
I didn't do it.
At this point, I'm going to ask you to leave. Leave my classroom. You're being disrespectful. Totally.
I'm not going anywhere.
All right. Woo! Yes, that's one thing. All right, let me see what else I had for breaking news. Something else I had for breaking news. All right, this is something else that's happening across seas. Our sister Vicky brought this up.
As you all know, we have been covering how the United States of America, by and through the Biden administration, has been warning Uganda and, of course, other African countries, other African nations, that they're going to face U.S. sanctions if they don't reconsider what they consider to be LGBTQ anti-gay laws, right? Well, the United States has decided to intensify her threats against Uganda. On Monday, President Biden called for the, quote, immediate repeal of Uganda's severe new anti-gay law and warned that he may impose sanctions and other penalties in response. So the U.S. is telling you all, do it or else. It's when they tell y'all to jump and you're supposed to say how high when you don't move fast enough for America. You know, she's trying to intensify her threats. It goes on that Ugandan President Museveni signed the legislation Monday. Human Rights Watch notes that says it criminalizes, quote, merely identifying as LGBTQ and imposes severe punishments for violations related to same-sex relations, including the possibility of the death penalty. Now, fam, let me tell you all something. You all know, like I know, that the United States, one of our trading partners is Saudi Arabia and Qatar. You all know that some of their anti-gay bills over there, they will unalive you. You'll lose your life over there.
Mm-hmm.
But the United States is still trading with them, and they don't have this intense threats against them, and to be honest, against Russia on these types of things either. But they got all this smoke for our black family on the continent. Now, see, this is another reason why the United States of America.
And this is the thing to get me, right? When I think about this, you just see how the agenda, when you see the agenda even here in America, it seems as though it's really aimed towards us. It's like we got to get them to agree with this. We got to get them to go along with this. So it seems like it's just aimed towards us. Crazy, 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 crazy. All right, and it was one other thing I wanted to show y'all, and this was something that was really sad. And I felt like this is really sad. So let me see if how I can do this.
10 TV News at noon begins with breaking news from Blendon Township. 2 hours ago, we received new police body camera video of the moments leading up to a deadly shooting involving a police officer. A 21-year-old pregnant woman, Takaya Young, was shot and killed by an officer last Thursday. 10 TV got the body-worn camera video within the last hour. We thank you for joining us for 10 TV News at noon today. I'm Tracy Townsend, and before we show you the video, we do want to warn you, it might be hard to watch. We feel, though, here at 10 TV, it's important to provide some context as to what led to the shooting. We are not going to show the moment the deadly shot was fired. We will pause the video. Here's what you're about to see. 2 Blendon Township police officers say they were at the Sunbury Kroger store helping someone unlock their car door. A Kroger employee waved them down and informs them a woman is trying to steal from the store. We're going to show you 2 clips from both body-worn camera videos with a brief pause in between them. Here is the moment the police officers approached Takaya Young's car.
Was stealing really worth this?
What's that?
Hallucinating. Wants to go out for a 10.
Hey, stop. Hey, out of the car. 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 They said you stole stuff, do not leave. Get out of the then get out. No, then get out. Get out of the car. Out of the car. Out of the car.
Now,
out of the car.
If y'all didn't know, what happened was she refused to get out. She tried to drive, and the cop positioned himself in front of the car. Think about this. It's crazy. As I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why would you put yourself in front of the car? The cop positioned himself in the front of the car, pointing a gun at her. And then when she went to proceed to drive, he shot her point blank and killed her. Because someone claimed she was stealing. Had no proof that she was stealing, just a claim. And he actually killed her instantly. And they ain't gonna show it from a different angle, but this is from their body camera, so she don't even got the camera, right? This ain't a cell phone camera. This is their body camera. This is crazy.
Car. Out of the car. Out of the car.
I said, Ezekiel, he gonna be right in front of the car. He gonna put his hand on the car. Why would you get in front of the car?
No, then get out. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
And he got the gun. Look, he tried, like, what is this?
We now know the officer who fired the gun is on administrative leave while the Bureau of Criminal Investigation works on this case. The second officer did not fire his weapon, and the Blendon Township Police Chief John Belford says after reviewing the video, that officer is back on duty as they are short-staffed. 10 TV's Kiana Dyches is outside the Blendon Township Police Department now. She was there as the family walked out after speaking with the chief. Kiana.
Well, Tracy, that all happened very quickly. The family was in and out of the room just behind me here within 15 minutes. And as you can imagine, they were devastated after seeing that video. We briefly spoke to one of the attorneys afterwards, and she says that the video speaks for itself. She says that she didn't see any justification for use of deadly force.
I saw a young woman get killed.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going to work through the legal process and how that plays out. But I in that video, I didn't see any exoneration for the police officer.
And this was the moment the family came out from viewing the body cam footage. Takaya's grandmother, Nadine Young, on the right, in tears after watching it. About 7 family members total walked out very quietly, many of them wiping tears, sharing hugs, but taking it all in quietly. And their attorneys say that they're going to pursue all forms of justice that they can receive, including charges being brought against the officer who pulled the trigger. And Tracy, there have been many questions about what took so long to release the body cam video. The chief saying that the legal review and redaction process was both complicated and time consuming, and that process included having someone outside of Blendon Township come in and review that video to provide context and not make any conclusions about whether the use of deadly force was legally justified. Tracy?
All right, Kiana Digest in Blendon Township, thank you for that update. We should also note that Chief Belford also released a lengthy statement. We have that full statement for you online. Just click on this story at 10tv.com.
Crazy, 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 crazy. Crazy. I mean, it's like, wow. All right, so that's all the breaking news we got for you. I'm still trying to hold with our format with this new stuff. My apologies. Getting used to it. So we're gonna play our artist of the week. And then after I play the artist of the week, then we're gonna go ahead and get into why you all have logged on. We're gonna get into our main thing that we're here for. And yeah, again, apologies for the new format. But we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. All right, so the artist.
My savior died, my savior rose on the third day. I feel his vibe and come alive like a birthday. Love in his eyes, covered in light away. Raise me to life, I'm taking flight, run away. Ay, sick and I'm tired of getting my own way. I need a time, but you know that I don't wait. So you hear it once and I'm singing it slowly. You're all in my mind to make sure that I notice. You don't give up till I learn to say that you've chosen us. Cause all of this pain should have broken us. You're always the same, all you want is trust. Maybe if I give you the time that you deserve, I finally get to learn you what I'm worth. And what could be better? Nothing is better than us. Oh, darling. Oh, Yahweh. Smile this broken heart, a steady beating of something like a Jonah vulture.
Yeah, and that artist of the week came to us from our brother Catriel. He sent me that song and asked if I would put it on as the artist of the week. Again, if you all have different Hebraic artists, music that you all listen to, you want me to showcase it on the show, or if you're an artist and you make your own music and you want me to showcase it on the show, please drop something on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, leave it in an email, whatever it is, and I can get back in touch with you all and we can touch on it from there. All right, so now we're going to get into our the reason why you all are here. We're going to see if Larry Elder did exactly what everybody keeps claiming he did. I personally don't see it. Sorry. I seen all the hoopla. Oh, he tore Breakfast Club up. He tore the Breakfast Club up. I heard all the hoopla and all that stuff, and I'm sitting back like, he tore the Breakfast Club up. Okay. I seen him get a couple of good hits and jabs in here and there. Everybody loved him for it, giving him the big ups. Larry did his thing. I was like, okay, y'all pumping him up, making him feel like he the man. Y'all pumping him up, making him feel like he the man. And it is what it is. I think I saved it in the wrong part. Let me see. Where did I save that at? Oh, no, it should be in there. Okay. All right. So, because I put together some clips myself, I said, you know what? I want to make sure everything runs smooth because I knew I was using a whole different, here you go. I knew I was using a whole different thing tonight. And I said I didn't want it to mess up too much because I knew it was going to be kind of rough. But together, we're going to work this out. The same good quality that y'all got used to from my other packet, we will have the same success on this one. All right. So this is what I sing like all y'all saw. I saw.
Let's call it the slaughter, which you executed on the Breakfast Club last week. Oh,
Yeah, they was talking about it was some kind of slaughter. They said he slaughtered the Breakfast Club. And I was like, what? So look at him on this is a John Whitlock show. And watch what he says. He gonna be real giddy. Watch this.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was impressive. What did you think when that was over? When that hour and 6 minutes was over, did you know that you had slaughtered everybody in the room?
Well, Jason, you remember Randall Tex Cobb, that fighter who fought Larry Holmes for 15 rounds? Randall Tex Cobb had no offense, but he could take a punch like nobody's business. You could kick him with a mule, he would not fall. Hit him with a baseball bat, he would not fall. And Holmes wailed on him for 15 rounds. Randall Tex Cobb lost every single round, but he did not go down. And when the fight was over, Cobb was asked if he wanted a rematch. And he said no. Larry's hands couldn't take the punishment. Well, I felt that my hands couldn't take the punishment anymore, Jason.
All right. And it's not that way. I'm like, what to big up the Breakfast Club. I like the Breakfast Club. I know a lot of people don't like the Breakfast Club, right? But I like those guys, right? I find them amusing at times and funny at times, you know. But my thing with him was he was trying to go against systemic racism. And I'm like, wait a minute. We can't do that. So I'm gonna go back to it. All right. Now, again, when everybody saw stuff about this, about Larry Elder and all this, everybody kept saying how he destroyed this notion of systemic racism. He proved that there is no systemic racism. Now, some of y'all might be like, well, what is systemic racism? What does systemic racism mean? Right? Some of y'all might feel that way. Well, what in the world does systemic racism mean, right? So let's look at this. Let's look and see what systemic racism means. All right. Shine this up here. And this over here. Oh, let's see. Well, this is not big. All right. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. I'm like, why is this not doing what I wanted to do? All right. All right, so hopefully y'all be able to see this. All right, so systemic racism. What is systemic racism? All right, today, racism continues to exist in our communities and in our parishes. So this is written from a church where they was trying to explain what systemic racism was. Racism is what makes us see the other with suspicion or to attribute negative characteristics to an entire group of people of a different race, right? The evil, this manifests itself in our individual thoughts and also in the workings of our society itself. Today's continuing inequalities in education. All right, so this is one of the ways that we see systemic racism is inequalities in education. So we here like how to try to tackle that. Housing, inequality in housing, inequality in employment, wealth, and the representation in leadership positions are rooted in our country's shameful history of slavery and systemic racism. Discrimination based on race. So what's systemic racism? Systemic racism is discrimination based on race and ethnicity. And it takes many forms. The United States have made progress in eliminating some of the institutional, legalized racial discrimination of the years past, such as the main one that we all know about, slavery. Then the next one after that is the Jim Crow laws. That's what people was fighting against when they were saying they wanted to be able to eat at lunch counters, wanted to be able to drink from the same water fountains, wanted to be able to go into the restaurants and so forth and so on. Didn't want to have to sit at the back of the bus, or even if you at the back of the bus, get up out your seat and stand because someone white came and told you that's what you had to do. Separate but equal. Remember when the schools was separate but equal, even though they weren't equal? And prohibitions on voting or owning land. These are some of the basics things of systemic racism that was conquered. It says these hard-fought victories deserve to be remembered and celebrated. Still, these advances are incomplete. Data on social and economic welfare show disparities between many persons of color and their white counterparts. For instance, unemployment rates for African Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans are considerably higher than the national average. Growing income inequality increasingly affects minorities. In the United States, the median wealth for white households is 10 times greater than for black households, 8 times greater than for Hispanic households. But look at that. 10 times greater for black, 8 times greater for the Hispanic households. Minority home ownership rates lag behind their white counterparts, and yet research shows that the minorities face extra hurdles in getting approved for mortgages. African Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans are disproportionately affected through every stage of the criminal justice system, despite the evidence that different racial and ethnic groups commit crimes at roughly the same rates. So this is an idea of systemic racism. Now, the people that were celebrating Larry, they were celebrating Larry, saying that Larry won. Larry showed that there is no systemic racism. Larry did his thing. Everybody was jumping for joy for Larry. Now, the reason why they were doing this is because Charlemagne tried to get him, as far as get smart with him, and asked him about a Negro wake-up call. And he asked, well, what is that? He says, when a Negro gets a wake-up call, because they basically saying that, basically he was trying to call him Uncle Tom, but in a polite way. And he reversed it on Charlemagne and reminded him of that time when Biden was running for president and came on a show and told Charlemagne that if he was having a hard time trying to figure out whether he was going to vote for Biden or vote for Trump, that Charlemagne wasn't black. In other words, if you black and you don't vote for, and you didn't vote for Biden, according to Biden, you aren't black anymore. He said, I'm going to take your black card because you didn't vote for me, you voted for Trump. Now, the thing that got me was a lot of people jumped for joy. He got Charlemagne. Charlemagne didn't know what to say. And some of them are the same people that still voted for Biden, even though they heard Biden say that crazy mess on the show. Think about that one. They heard Biden made that crazy remark on the show, and they still voted for him, but then they want to get jumped for joy when he threw it in Charlemagne's face, and Charlemagne basically didn't have a way to come back. But yet, it didn't end there. They kept pressing forward, and that's what we're going to pick up at in this story. So if y'all see any of the clips on YouTube, all of them are going to show you Charlemagne asked him about a Negro wake-up call, how he shut him down and told him about Biden. And you will see all the hosts just harping on that one thing and laughing and kowtowing and saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then some of them are going to take it even further and say, he proved that systemic racism is a myth and doesn't exist. And that's where I paused and said, wait a minute, he proved what? When he did that? So that's where we come in and play it. That's where we come in and play it.
Oh, I do want to ask you one final question. When do you think systemic racism ended? Since you said it don't exist anymore, when did it end?
I can't come up with a specific time, but Civil Rights Act. Civil Rights Act of 1964, Brown versus.
So, and Charlemagne still was getting smart. Like you have. He said, when did it end? He said, well, I can't come up with a specific time. He said, neither can we, right? We can't come up with a specific time when it ended neither. So that's why we asking you, since you said it ended and it's over. So Larry Elders admits that it was systemic racism. He admits that it was systemic racism, but in the midst of him admitting that, he also says that he doesn't agree that it still exists.
Versus Board of Education, the Loving versus Virginia Act that struck down race mixing.
All right, so he said the Brown versus the Board of Education. That's the part that we read about in there where it talked about separate but equal schools. So that was one thing that was some part of systemic racism. Then he says this about people being able to marry other races. And I was like, well, Was that really systemic racism? I don't know. Y'all tell me. I don't know. I mean, it was used against people who did it so they could lock him up. Like one of the main people was Jack Johnson, and they really hated him because he was just running around with his white wife, and they hated that, hated. He threw it in their face as much as he could. So I'm not sure, but I'm not sure as far as how much there's really systemic racism, but I'm gonna let them carry on.
You couldn't, for 13 states, you couldn't marry a white woman. Again, I think that when Barack Obama got elected, that was a big deal.
All right, now, so President Barack Obama being elected really supposedly killed systemic racism? Is that what we running with now? Just want to make sure, because I don't see how that stops systemic racism. We're going to see as we go in, but this is one of the things he's saying.
When Obama got elected, this is really important. He got elected with a little more than 52% of the vote.
Yeah.
He walks into the Oval Office the third week of January. He had a 70% approval. Now, how can that be? How can 15% all of a sudden support this man? It wasn't because they wanted capital gains taxes raised, which Obama promised to do. It wasn't because of Obamacare, which Obama promised to do. It's because many Americans said at the very least he'll stop the nonsense that America remains systemically racist.
So he wants us to believe that his rating got such a high approval because the people wanted to prove once and for all that systemic racism was gone. Y'all buying this? I was saying, so that's what they kept telling us. Okay, racism. I remember. I don't know, y'all should be old enough to remember. I remember when he first got in office, and they would say, okay, racism is over. Obama's the president. Got a black president, racism over. And I'm like, racism over? Got a black president? Let me let y'all see me on this one. I want to make myself bigger on this one. How in the world is racism over because we had a black president? And then technically, don't get mad at me. Please don't get mad at me. But technically, he was not a black president. Don't throw no rocks. Don't hit me. I know y'all might be talking on here. I'm sorry. I still can't figure out how to bring the chat up. So I apologize for everyone who's in the chat that's talking and wondering why I'm not showing I'm on a different system, so I can't bring the chat up like I would like. But I will be able to look back at it later and see what you all have said and comment from there and all of that. Oh, it did pop up. Okay, yeah, Brother Tony. Let me see. Like I'm saying, I don't know if the chat gonna pop up. So Brother Tony says, well, let me see what he say first so I can see it. They won't let me see once I click it. I don't think mixed relationships is systemic racism because it's not something the powers that be wanted to happen right now, and it crippled the power. Okay, I don't think mixed relationships was systemic racism because it was not something the powers that be wanted to happen. Right now, it has crippled the power of the KKK. Yeah, to a degree, you know, but I'll let all y'all see what Brother Tony said as well. To a degree, I agree with you, Brother Tony. Like, it has, some might say it made it stronger, right? Because I really believe, and it was a TV show that I seen where they tried to show us some of this stuff, but I really believe some of these cops are actually KKK members, and they join a force just so they can come in our community and do some crazy stuff and get away with it. That's just me. Just me. Don't attack me. Just me. Don't attack me. Don't attack me. Just me. Oh man. But yeah, just thinking about that, it's like, come on, man. Come on, man. All right, so, but let me explain what I was saying about the first about President Barack Obama being black. We know, and this for the foundational people, we know that President Barack Obama's father, I think, was from Kenya. Let me make sure. So I'm gonna look this up and make sure. But I believe his father was from Kenya. So let me let y'all see this because I like to be able to show everything. I do like this feature that they have on there where I can share stuff. I'm like, wow. So this is just from a brief Google search, but it shows. Let me bring it up so you can see it. Which one is up now? That's me. Let me take it off the big screen. All right. It shows that President Barack Obama's father is from Kenya. So his father's from Kenya. His mom is white. Now, yeah, he's black in color. I get that. He's black in color. Y'all gonna be mad at me for this. But that's not what we mean when we say black. And I think this is a problem that needs to be understood. When we say black people, we're talking about people who don't have an idea of what their identity is outside of America. That's why they just been given this idea of a color. Right? That's just what it is, right? I know many people don't like that. They say, well, I am black. I'm black just mean a color. I'm black. We got people from Fresh and Fit, a dude named Myron. From Fresh and Fit who's part Arab and also part Somalian. I believe he is. And he says he's black. And he says the N-word all day long. But yet and still, I guarantee if you looked at any of his documents, it would not have black on it. It will say white. Now, this is something that I learned is that a lot of people that come from across seas, they are encouraged to mark down their race as white, even though they are black in color. Because the idea is when they talk about black, they talking about us that's over here. Now, President Barack Obama was very akin to us, so forth and so on, but because he didn't actually come through the different things that our ancestry came through, it's hard to connect to it. I know many people don't like that idea when you say that. They say, brother, no, but I'm just trying to let y'all know that that is a very real thing. That's why if you talk to other people that say he's the first Kenyan American president or Kenyan American president, right? Just like with Kamala Harris, they say she's, I can't remember what her lineage is, right? But again, it's not black people that came through slavery. When we talk about black, we mean black people that came through slavery. That's what we talking about. That's what we mean when we say black. We talk about black people who came through slavery. Right? That's what we mean when we say black. We not talking about the color. I know everybody gets caught up with that because they see black. They say black is a color. Yeah, but we not talking about the color wise. When we say black, we talk about black people from slavery. Nobody from that lineage or stock is been the president. Unless you want to go back and you talk about the president of the 13 colonies. But other than that, you talk about the United States of America. Thank you, Heart for Serving. So it says Kamala is Indian American, not black. Yeah, even she said it. But they looked at her color and say, hey, she black. So we're going to run with it, right? But the Indian people said, no, that's our vice president. First Indian vice president, right? But we do get caught up. We got caught up with the thing with black. Let me see what else. Heart for Serving was saying a lot. I was trying to slowly get through that because I know a lot of people get caught up on that. And this is how I'm going to explain that. All right. I never forget, it was this thing called the Jenna, was it Jenna 6? Was it the Jenna 6? I think it was the Jenna 6, right? And the Jenna 6, or was it the Jenna 7? It was the Jenna something. Anyway, it was some nooses and stuff that went up down there at school. There was a big commotion about stuff and racism. And we got up in arms. And I remember that day I was at Morgan. They said all us going to wear black to show our consolidation with the people down there in Jenna. I think it was Jenna, Mississippi, or one of them southern places. And we all wore our black. And it was a sister from Africa. Our parents were from, I think our parents was from Nigeria, I believe. Or they was either from Nigeria or, yeah, I think they was from Nigeria or maybe Congo, but I'm thinking Nigeria. And she was upset, saying, why we upset and why we can't just leave the past in the past. And all of us who ancestry came through slavery and understood all the stuff that we've been going through, we was looking at her like, what are you talking about? You're not going to wear black too? She's like, no, I'm not getting caught up in the midst of that. And that's the past. I'm going to leave the past to the past. And then that's what it hit me. Her family came from another place, so they can't understand the anger. They can't understand the frustration. They can't understand, and be able to stand consolidated with others who went through this process. They feel like you should just let it go. That's what she told us. You should just let this stuff go. So I was like, wow. And we even asked her, like, what's going on? And she was like, well, my family from, I think she said, my family from Nigeria. And we was like, oh, that's what it is. So that's why you just feel this way, that way. And it's the same thing. It's like, it is what it is. So it's hard. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. So Heart for Serving said, I disagree. It was planned for the races to mix the whole time. We actually were a lot better off when we were separated. Okay. I hear you. Also, the Baphomet picture is a black boy and a white girl. So definitely playing. Yeah, we're going to touch on a lot of this the next few weeks. I really got stuff going on in the community. You know, if y'all notice, y'all can see my hands a little bit more now. And now, if I do any kind of gesture, I got to say, oh, somebody going to freeze the frame and have me like this and say, look at him, he's Illuminati, right? So now I got to watch it. But I'm like, what in the world? So I can't sit with my hand like this. Because I sit my hand like this. See? Or I'm sitting there thinking, and I do like, look, his hands, you see his hands? This is ridiculous. I'm definitely going to touch on that. Because I'm like, what are you supposed to do? Right? I just got to put my hands in my pockets, keep your hand in your pockets. People watching your hands, so you can screenshot it and say, yeah, you this, that, and the other. Get out of here. Y'all really going to be mad at me next week for all y'all to think like that. Y'all going to be mad at me next week. I wanted to do it this week, but I already had set my heart on doing this. So I just got to wait. But next week, oh yeah, y'all going to be mad. Trust me. It says, I don't disagree with what you are saying, however, about all us being mixed. We can hide in plain sight. We are only race that can make white people and hide amongst them. The KKK, which cripples them. My sister had a lot to say. Also, this is Brother Tony. Who's that, Brother Tony? Let me see who that was. I'm sorry. Wow, y'all going every night. Whoa. Okay, I'm just going to bypass some of this stuff y'all was saying. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna bypass some of this stuff y'all said. Let me. Y'all was going in the night. I'm gonna leave some of that stuff alone. Y'all, if y'all want to see the rest of what they saying, you gotta log on to the live. Gotta look at the replay. Log on to the live. I believe the rest of that stuff alone. And they were saying, "Oh my goodness, boy." All right, let's get back into this. I believe that y'all was going in, boy. Y'all was going in on that live. I believe that alone. All right, let's get into this.
And for 8 years, in my humble opinion, he played race card after race card after race card. So when he entered the Oval Office, both blacks and whites.
All right, now, this is where I definitely disagree with Larry. Definitely disagree with him. One thing that anybody who lived on that town, now maybe he's saying this for people who might be the young people that didn't live during that time, but for those of us who lived during that time and was old enough to understand what was happening, President Barack Obama was one of the most peace trying to bring everybody together president that I can remember. Every time anything happened, he kept saying, we're all in this together. We're one America. Got it in racial divide, so forth. And so he always was saying this. So when he says that he was constantly playing a race card, I'm like, what president you talking about? Because the President Barack Obama that I saw, he wasn't doing that at all. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. He's trying to go with this narrative that the Republicans and others built up, which I'm going to touch on that in a couple of weeks too, because it's even creeping in amongst us in the Hebraic community. You got people in the Hebraic community trying to say that, all this stuff about racial stuff, this, that, and the other, is all being made up by the Illuminati and it's not happening and we equal. And I'm like, huh? Is you crazy? Like, seriously. Like, So yeah, so we're definitely gonna touch on that too with these Illuminatis people that's exposing stuff and at the same time trying to convince us that racism don't really exist. And yeah, I will go through that video so I can show you how over and over and over they try to plant the seed in your brain that racism don't exist. He says, Heart for Service says Barack was one of the worst presidents ever for blacks. He was the LGBT president. That's it. So many laws passed for that group. All right, so that is something that a lot of people argue. A lot of people argue that about him. And we're going to see all of that. But I just want you to hear what Larry Elder is saying. Because Larry Elder is going to be saying some stuff that I felt like they should have challenged, but they didn't. And they just let him skate through. But I said, if I'd have been there, I would have challenged him on this. So I'm going to challenge him now.
Whites thought race relations would get better. When he left, both blacks and whites thought they got worse. Why? Because he did things like the Cambridge police acted stupidly when they didn't.
All right, now, the Cambridge police acted stupidly when they didn't. Now, what he's going to do, and I said this dude is wise. He's playing to his voting base. His voting base is people that's anti anything that has to do with sticking up for us. Anti anything that has to do with sticking up for us. He talks about, wanting to build the family, this, that, other. That's it. Stick it up for us? No. Now, what am I talking about? You see this guy on the camera right now. This is Professor Henry Louis Gates. This man was in his house. He had a 20-hour flight. He got home. The key wouldn't go through the door the right way. So him and his bodyguard or driver forced the door open. He came in and he was sitting in his house relaxing after he did his house. And the police came because they was called because the neighbors seen two black guys looking like they was breaking in a house. So the police came. He had words with the cop. He kept telling the cop this is his house. Cop did not believe it was his house because he was black. And he got a call. And how could he live in such a nice house when a cop house wasn't as nice? All these types of things are going on. He's explaining to him, look, I'm a professor at Harvard. I think he's at Harvard. I'm a professor at Harvard. That's why I can afford to live here in this affluent neighborhood, so forth and so on. And he basically went eventually because he felt like he didn't want to do it at first, but he said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to go and get my ID and my deed, and I'm going to show you that this is my house. He got his driver's license. They had the address for the house on the driver's license. Also had the deed. He let this police officer see all of this stuff. The police officer was mad because he was livid as he let the police see all this stuff. He was angry. He talked to them in a way that they felt was belittling and disrespectful. And how dare he speak to us in this manner? So the police officer knew I can't lock him up in his house, but if I could get him to come outside, I got him. So the police officer asked him to step on a porch so they could talk about it a little longer. And as soon as he stepped out on the porch, the police officer locked him up for being loud and disorderly. Couldn't lock him up for being loud and disorderly in his house, so he had to get him outside. And this is where we're going to come in at. Now, you heard that situation. Did the Cambridge police do something wrong? Yes. They locked the man up at his house for breaking in his own house after they had proof that it was his house. Yes, they did something wrong. And the only reason why they locked him up because the cop did not like how he talked to him. He felt like he was disrespectful and he was going to teach this boy, which was old enough to be his father, he's going to teach this boy how to respect his authority. I'm going to say it in the South Park, in my South Park voice, respect my authority. That's what he wanted. So let's see what happens.
Recently, Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. was arrested at his home in Cambridge. What does that incident say to you, and what does it say about race relations in America?
Well, I should say at the outset that Skip Gates is a friend, so I may be a little biased here. I don't know all the facts. What's been reported, though, is that the guy forgot his keys, jimmied his way to get into the house. There was a report called into the police station that there might be a burglary taking place.
Yep.
So far, so good, right? I mean, if I was trying to jigger into, well, I guess this is my house now, so it probably wouldn't happen. But let's say my old house in Chicago. Here I'd get shot. But
gotta enjoy the corny jokes as you can. And I was telling y'all, I see corny. Gotta enjoy I say corny jokes too.
So far, so good. They're reporting. The police are doing what they should. There's a call. They go investigate what happens.
Now listen to what he said. He's breaking out exactly what I said, right? He's leaving out a few details, but he's giving you a rough idea from what I said. Now, so far, so good. Everything's good. Now watch what happens.
My understanding is at that point, Professor Gates is already in his house. The police
already in his house.
I'm sure there's some exchange of words.
Some.
But my understanding is that Professor Gates then shows his ID to show that this is his house. And at that point, he gets arrested for disorderly conduct.
Now, he shows the cop this is his house. He feels like it should be over. The cop doesn't want to let it go. He's yelling at the cop. The cop decides to get him out on a porch and then arrest him for disorderly conduct.
Charges which are later dropped. Now, I don't know, not having been there and not seeing all the facts, what role race played in that. But I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry.
Of course.
Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly.
And they did. Now, when he said this, when he got on public TV, and let me let you see me, when he got on public TV and he said the Cambridge police acted stupidly, we was in the house like, yeah, woo, that's our president, boy, that's the black president, boy, we ain't taking that no more. Police ain't gonna do whatever they want to do to us no more. We was popped. We were excited. We said, finally, got a black man in the White House. He saying, you ain't gonna do this to my people. Y'all acted stupidly, get it together, right? That was it. Little did we know the pressure was going to come on him. He was going to renege. But again, this is the stuff he bringing up about Obama that he didn't like. He didn't like that he spoke up for us about this police situation because many black people was in that same situation, and we see it all the time where they are right and they trying to explain something to the police, and the police like, respect my authority, do what I say to do, And when you don't, then they want to just lock you up, throw you around, act crazy. So many of us have went through that. So that's basically what we was excited. We seen him do that. We was like, whoa. I remember calling people like, oh, you just see what just happened? Well, it's our president, bro. It's our president. We was excited, right? And then the powers that be that control the system. This one we seen that he wasn't in control of no system. The powers that be that was in control of the system told him, what are you doing? You stepping outside your boundaries. Get back in line. And then he reneged on all of that, right? But at that point, we was excited. We was excited.
In arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home.
Yeah, that was stupid.
And number three, what I think we know separate and apart from this incident is that there is a long history in this country of African Americans and Latinos being stopped by law enforcement disproportionately. And that's just a fact, as you know.
Yeah, and he was breaking that down. And we was like, yes, like we was with him. And then he reneged. Oh, that was a crushing moment when he reneged. We was just like, what happened?
You know, Lynn, when I was in the state legislature in Illinois, we worked on a racial profiling bill because there was indisputable evidence that blacks and Hispanics were being stopped disproportionately. And that is a sign, an example of how, race remains a factor in the society. That doesn't lessen the incredible progress that has been made. I am standing here as testimony to the progress that's been made. And yet, the fact of the matter is that this still haunts us. And even when there are honest misunderstandings, the fact that blacks and Hispanics are picked up more frequently and oftentimes for no cause casts suspicion even when there is good cause.
All right, so what he said right there is even if we could say the cop was good and he did his job and we looking at him unfairly, the idea is because of the unproportionalness, because of how we are profiled more than anybody else. Because of that, it's hard to not look at this through that lens and think, here we go again, you profiling me. It's hard not to look at it through the lens of color. So again, even in the midst of this, he still was trying to mend things together. He wasn't race baiting. Not one time. He stated facts, broke it down. He was not race baiting at all. So when the guy said Obama was race baiting and he did this, that, and the other, and he brought up these things, I'm like, wait a minute. No, that ain't what happened. That's not what happened at all.
That's why I think the more that we're working with local law enforcement to improve policing techniques so that we're eliminating potential bias, the safer everybody's going to be.
If I had a son, he looked like Trayvon. When what happened to Trayvon had nothing to do with his race.
Now, again, this situation right here, when this animal killed this young man. Now, the idea with this is he brought this up and said it had nothing to do with race, when clearly we all knew it did. We heard the call. He says, they always get away, not this time. The police told this wild animal not to be out there with his gun, to let them handle it. And he said they always get away, not this time. And he ran up on his young boy and began to fight him. And as a young boy fought back for his life, now he's feared for his life. He got to stand his ground. And he killed them. And all of us that seen it and heard the calls and all that stuff, we knew that this was wrong. We knew that this is something that should not have happened. But yet and still, even though we knew all of this stuff, he got away with it. Got away with it. And America was at a point where it was cracking. Enough was enough. And what Obama did was really to appease angry people that was angry and frustrated. He tried to appease them, to tell them that the system going to work and everything going to work all right, and everything didn't work out all right. And the system didn't work because this guy got away with murder. System didn't work. But he was not using it for the manner of what Mr. Elders is saying he did.
Well, I'm the head of the executive branch, and the Attorney General reports to me, so I've got to be careful about my statements to make sure that we're not impairing any investigation that's taking place right now. But obviously, this is a tragedy. I can only imagine what these parents are going through. And when I think about this boy, I think about my own kids.
Yeah.
And I think every parent in America should be able to understand why it is absolutely imperative that we investigate every aspect of this.
Now, one time did he say that happened to him because he was black, even though we all knew it. But he's not pandering towards that. So that's why I said when Mr. Elders said what he said, he didn't like that it was these moments that he was appealing to us. He didn't like that. Because that's the only thing I can see about this that would have made him bring this up in a conversation. Because I'm thinking, he didn't say Trayvon got killed because he was black. Now, one time did he say that?
And that everybody pulls together, federal, state, and local, to figure out exactly how this tragedy happened. So I'm glad that not only is the Justice Department looking into it, I understand now that the governor of the state of Florida has formed a task force to investigate what's taking place.
All of which
I think all of us have to do some soul searching to figure out how does something like this happen. And that means that we examine the laws and the context for what happened, as well as the specifics of the incident. But my main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
That's all he said. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. Of course he would look like Trayvon. If I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. If Larry Elder had a son, he would look like Trayvon. So by saying that, that's saying that he got killed because he was black. That's why I said as he was saying the stuff he was saying, Charlemagne and them let him get away with that stuff because they kept wanting to get him on certain things. And that's what made it look like he was winning. He didn't really say nothing miraculous.
And, I think they are right to expect that all of us as Americans are going to take this with the seriousness it deserves, and that we're going to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. All right. Thank you.
He embraced black.
He said, all of us as Americans. Now, the Black Lives Matter thing that he talk about, that's something different. Now, the idea, the phrase, we had some people incorporated a phrase. This was a phrase, a chant that was said, where we were saying, our lives matter, Black Lives Matter. Somebody incorporated that and made money off of it and started an organization and called it that. And people knowing that it started as a chant still try to link you up with this this corporation or this company just by you saying it, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. It was a chant that was being said. When I start saying people talking about they donate into the group Black Lives, and I'm thinking, the group? What are y'all talking about? They're like, yeah, we're going to see what this group Black Lives Matter is going to do. We're donating to them. I'm like, somebody's saying that old people starting to feel like Black Lives Matter. Let's incorporate the name and make money off of it, and did it. And it's just like, it make you be like, you know what? I can't even say the chant, because as I'm saying a chant, you done incorporated to make it mean what you want it to mean. Crazy.
Black Lives Matter. He invited Al Sharpton in the White House over 70 times.
They hate Al Sharpton.
He said that racism is in America's DNA.
It is. What are you talking about? And then he say that stuff like it ain't true. What are you talking about? This country was founded on slavery. Like, you don't realize that?
He said all sorts of things so that when he left, both blacks and whites thought race relations got worse.
Right.
But
it ain't had nothing to do with it while it got worse. It got worse because they was mad that he was sitting in the Oval Office.
But sir, this is where and we can just agree to disagree, because you're mixing race relations and voters, what voters decided to do, who might just be very good people that decided to elect a black man, confusing with institutional system racism.
Exactly.
And those are just two totally different things. I'm talking about structures, not what voters did, or voters wanted to see better race relations.
Yeah, because he starts talking about voters. The voters is not the structure. It don't matter who's in there, Republican, Democrat, whatever. The system is already set up to do what it's going to do. No matter who in there. He starts talking, we got black mayors, black governors. Okay, it don't matter who in there. Right? At one point, he brought up Freddie Gray. He says so much stuff that I ain't going to be able to get to everything that he says. But he brought up Freddie Gray and what happened here in Baltimore. And he was trying to tell he had the black mayor, he had the black chief of police, had the black this, the black that, right? He never said black district attorney. He left her out. I said, why you name everybody else that was black, but then say the black district attorney, right? Because that's who brought the indictments against the police. That's who quelled and quenched, because Baltimore was raging. It was on and popping. She brought those cops. She said, you know what? Y'all got to get arrested and face trial. That's the only way to save everything. Y'all got to get arrested and face trial. So that's what she did. She arrested them. And you know what they did? You know what the powers that be that did to show anybody else to get in the office out doing it? They began to investigate and figure out a way to get her out of there, which is why they publicized this stuff about her supposedly getting money for COVID the wrong way, and just kept going at her to try to get the voters to get against her and this, that, other, because they knew that people remembered what she did and that people actually was going on there. But they also knew if we could besmirch her name, if we can put a stain on her some kind of way, we can get them to get her out of office, and we can make it an example to everybody to never do that again. That's the powers that be that did that. They went as far as up into the FBI, where the FBI start opening up cases on her. But it ain't it's no power structure. Systemic racism ain't involved. There's nothing going on. They just happen to happen out the blue. Just happen to happen, right? Get out of here. Like, whenever people doing stuff to empower black people, this, that, other, and the government stuff happened to them. They tried it years ago in D.C. What happened in D.C.? Yeah, Marion Barry. Marion Barry was doing much stuff for the people in D.C. They loved him. They loved him in D.C. What did they do? They set him up with this woman, bust in a room with cameras and everything with him with a crack pipe that the woman gave him. He yelled out, "This bee set me up." They made T-shirts with "This bee set me up." Everybody was wearing the T-shirts. All that stuff, right? All in hopes that the people in D.C. would not vote him back in the office so they can get a new mayor in there so they can begin to flourish the areas that they wanted to see grow. What happened? The people from D.C. said, you know what? We don't care if he smoked crack or not. He did stuff for us. We put him back in office. And they did. They put him back in office. And they was all kind of jokes on Saturday Night Live, made fun of. Everybody made fun of him about even in Living Color made fun of him about him smoking crack and this, that, and the other. But those black people in D.C. said, well, okay, what y'all say? This man look out for us. Baltimore ain't like that. Sorry. Once they get a bad report out about you, everybody start talking about that, so you know you God. But people loved her. People loved people loved our district attorney so much that they was like, you know what? The only way we can get rid of her is to set her up. The only way we can get rid of her is to set her up. So that's what they did. They set our sister up, our sister Marilyn Mosby, set her up, and just kept pumping it and pumping it and pumping it till the people finally bought into it and say, yeah, you right, we got to get rid of her. And then it was on from there. But that was the powers that be that did that. That you want us to not believe in, right? Get out of here. Anyway, I digress.
We're talking about structures, the same
Okay.
structures that you referenced several times that have also spited you. Just to be fair, I think Joe Biden and what Joe Biden has did to African Americans, particularly with the war on drugs, was one of the worst things that actually happened to black people. Just to put that on the record, he too was a part of that system that I'm talking about. Democrats as well. I just try to stay balanced to say that same system applies on both sides.
The system applies on both sides. Both sides.
Democrats and Republicans helped with mass incarceration. Joe Biden wrote it. So we have no problem. I have no problem condemning him as a Democrat for what he's done. I'm just talking about institutions versus relations are just two totally different things, and that's just where we just disagree with that, and that's okay.
We never benefited from slavery. In fact, our history have been buried basically or covered up, right? And why I say that is because we have never been told who we are as a people.
Nope.
First of all, where do we come from? We were called colored. We were called Negro. We were called African Americans. What does that mean? Who are we? Who are we? Where part of Africa are we from? Where'd you guys pick us up from? What's our DNA? Right? Never told us that, so you're hiding that for some reason. I'm sure you have that in your archives. Secondly, anytime we have ever tried to benefit from, society, whether it's working, building our own communities, school systems, busing systems, and these things, there's always been a war in our community.
Think about that. Every time we did any of that stuff, it's always been some kind of war on the community. Always been some kind of attack. Always. We say, okay, we let you do you. We won't separate, do what we want to do. No, y'all can't do that. Huh? You said you don't want us to be with you. Yeah, we want you to be underneath us, though. You still be with us, just be underneath us.
Whether it's Black Wall Street, whether it's Rosewood and what have you in the early 1900s. And then later on, with the new Jim Crow laws, you guys now implemented the 3-strike law, where it says in the Constitution that you abolish slavery except
Free
for
straight
criminal
shit gone
activity.
forever.
And then you put in the Jim Crow law where you now allow, someone.
Well, in order for you to go to jail, you have to commit a crime.
All right. So this is his thing. In order for you to go to jail, you got to commit a crime. What are you talking about? People go to jail all the time, don't commit crimes. Hell, I remember one time the boys jumped on me and I didn't do anything. Literally. Lied, everything. So when I heard him say this, I'm thinking, you serious? Is he really saying this?
If you walk down the street,
not always when you're black.
Thank you, Charlamagne.
Well, where are the class action lawsuits, Charlamagne? We have all these black lawyers.
I tried the lawsuit, everything. I went to I ain't even gonna call out there. I went to one brother whose slogan was, "If you need me, call me." And he was just like, "Well, did they beat you up? Did they? Oh, you alive? You good?" I was thinking, dang man, I'm trying to sue these people. Like, I wish it was a crump back during those days back then when all that stuff happened. I would have got crump. Hey, crump, I need you, son. They coming at me, right? And give me some money. Shoot, I'll never forget, dude. Big giant dude named Barnett throwing me around, and he was in the wrong, right? Just to prove a point that he can do what he wanted to do. And there was nothing I can do. But now I got this guy sitting there talking about, well, if you went to jail, hey, you must have did something wrong. Really? That's what you believe?
Lawyers, many black people have gone to law school. Where are the class action lawsuits claiming that a bunch of people are behind bars illegally, wrongfully? Where are they?
So you think?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So this is Ajik Owens, or AJ as her friends knew her, of Ocala, Florida. And a few days ago, she was shot and killed in front of her own children by her neighbor, Susan Lawrence.
This woman.
Neighbors have identified.
Now he's saying the legal system is right. If you do something wrong and illegal, you're going to go to jail. This woman killed a woman in front of her kids. Let's see if she went to jail.
And this woman has yet to be charged with that murder.
What? Like, Elder, where you at? She's yet to be charged, lie. Thought if you do evil, you go to jail.
So this is the information as we understand it. People in that neighborhood say that Susan is a known problem. There is a strip of grass, a little field area next to where she lives. The children often play there. It is a common area, but Susan seems to think it belongs to her. And there are a lot of reports of her harassing or threatening the children for playing there. A few days ago, Susan's son was playing there with some other kids and had left an iPad there, went back to retrieve it, and found that Susan had taken it. When he asked for it back, allegedly, she used racial slurs toward him and then swung or threw a set of rollerblades at him, striking him. And he went home and he told his mother. I think it's safe to assume AJ was pretty angry.
Went home and told his mother like he's supposed to. Ma, this grown woman threw some skates at me, hit me in my face. The mother comes angry like she should be. Why this grown person throwing something at my son?
Angry, I know. I certainly would have been.
All of us would have been.
To confront Susan. She went to Susan's home and began knocking on her door, banging on her door, whatever the case may be, with her children there.
Yeah.
Susan didn't answer the door. Instead, she fired multiple shots through the door, killing AJ. What pisses me off about this case is already you have news outlets referring to this as a stand your ground case. That Susan is going to claim the stand your ground law as the reason for shooting AJ. And from everything that's
So it's a law that people use often to get away with doing stuff to black people, because we all know how fearful it is for a black person to be angry. Isn't it the same law that was used for Trayvon? Same law Zimmerman used? He said he had to stand his ground. Did he go to jail? Like, I would say you do bad stuff, you're going to go to jail. Did he go to jail? our legal system's supposed to work. Did he go to jail? I don't think he went to jail. I think he's still roaming the grounds, walking around free as a bird. Let's see if she gonna go to jail.
Everything that's been presented, it does not meet the standards of stand your ground. In Florida, the stand your ground statute essentially says that if someone is coming towards you and it's reasonable for you to expect that they might kill you, you can defend yourself with deadly force. But they have to be coming at you, and you have to have reason to believe that they could take your life. Inside your home's different. They could be running away from you. Just their presence in your home could be perceived as a threat. Outside, however, if they are not directly a threat to taking your life, you cannot kill them with the law. A door between them is not a direct threat. And neighbors said that Susan has like a Ring camera or something. She knows who's at her door, so she could see her out there. It wasn't like she didn't know who was pounding on her door.
If she didn't
now, the sheriff
care.
says they're just trying to cross their T's and dot their I's.
Just start shooting through the door.
They want to talk to the children
Really?
and get full
This is what you
statements
did?
from them, and that's kind of a delicate matter. I can understand that, but also understand it's very upsetting to the victim's family
Right,
and to
upset.
the neighbors.
I'm
there.
upset, and I'm not
To
even
see this
upset.
woman literally sit on her porch and sip coffee in the morning after taking their neighbor's life.
She's sitting on a porch sipping coffee. Not a care or worry in the world, because she know the system is going to work on her behalf. Same system that he says don't exist. Systemic racism don't exist, right? That's what he's saying. Yet we see stuff like this happening, but it's all in our head. It's all in our heads.
Which is what she's allegedly been doing. So, Marion County Sheriff's Department, a member of your community was killed, and 4 children are now without a mother because of this person.
What you
We're
think
all
will happen to
watching
those 4 children?
Make sure that you do the right thing. In the meantime, there has been a GoFundMe set up to help with funeral costs, and I'm sure the rest would go to the children. If you search on GoFundMe for Ajik Owens, you can find it there.
Everybody that's behind
I didn't say
bars
that.
is behind bars.
I didn't say that. Why don't you answer my question? Where are the class action lawsuits?
Well, you got need money to do class
You
action
have
lawsuits.
you've had a black attorney general, Eric Holder. You had back-to-back black attorneys general, Eric Holder and then Loretta Lynch.
He keep naming people that's black that's in charge of the system like they're going to be able to change the system. What are you talking about? That's not how it works. Like, it's like you got a company. The person who owned the company got the plan and everything laid out for the company. They hire managers and presidents and CFOs and all them to run their company the way they want it ran. They can't get hired and say, now we're going to do what we want to do with it. That's not how it works. And he knows this, but he got to play to his base, so he got to keep playing dumb and keep talking around the issue by pointing out stuff that's not dealing directly with what they're being told. And that's what we saw that day in that interview. Them being frustrated because they kept trying to get him to see that it's a system, and he kept saying, oh, no, not a system. Black people voted. Not a system. It's black people that's in charge of it. Not a system. What are you talking about? This is crazy. All right. Let's go on.
Lynch, why didn't they release a whole bunch of people who are illegally behind bars? Why didn't they do that? You had a black president.
And I criticized them as well. Went on record because actually you're right. He lied and said that he was going to fix the crack cocaine disparity. So I went on record. You're right. And guess what? Guess who he works for? The system.
I love when she did that. Y'all hated on her. Many of y'all hated on her sister. She need to shut up, the black woman. Like, what y'all talking about? This sister did her thing. She said, and guess who did it? The system. I was like, go ahead, sister. Get him, sister. Get him.
So he's just a blackface that works for the system at the time. So again, we just disagree on systems and institutions versus blackface.
Well, Martin Luther King in 1966, Charlemagne, gave an interview to the BBC. This is 2 years after
let us
the
know Dr. King at you. After they can't get you, let's know Dr. King.
I'm amazed at how many positive changes there have been in America in the last 2
This
years.
is
Why,
Dr.
if
King
things keep
supposed to
going
be
like
saying.
this, we could have a black president in about 40 years' time. Do the math. Right on cue, Barack Obama elected 2008.
Now, again, Barack Obama is not a black president as far as born from the slaves. That's what Dr. King was talking about. a black person born from the slaves. Barack Obama was not that. Gotta remember, his father is from Kenya. He's a Kenyan American. Guys, let's get this straight.
He didn't say there'll be a black female president of Harvard, and there has been. He didn't say there are going to be black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there have been several. He didn't say the percentage of the House would equal the percentage of black people in the population,
dealing with the system.
And it does. He didn't say the 3 largest cities would have black mayors, and they do. He didn't say the largest and most prestigious organization of doctors, the American Medical Association, would have 2 black presidents, and there have been. He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association, would have 2 black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated the day before. And now we act as if Barack Obama never even got elected. And we're still talking about systemic racism.
And that's one thing that got me. They kept saying, oh, Barack Obama is the president, so racism is over. And I'm like, where y'all get that from? So since he the president, racism is over? Is you crazy?
It's not fair. It's wrong. And you're discouraging black people from working hard.
And that don't got nothing to do with working hard. You still gonna work hard. Because we determined not to let it stop us. But at the same point, we can't act like it don't exist.
Even Senator Jacob Javits asked the question recently. He said that he...
So I decided to get Dr. King so we can hear what Dr. King had to say for himself instead of us hearing it from him.
He was a slum resident, but he and some of his fellow Jews were able to make it out of the ghetto on the Lower East Side. The same thing is true with lots of Irish, Italians. And he asked the question why the Negro finds it so difficult to make his way up out of the ghetto.
Number one, no other racial group has been a slave on American soil.
That was the most powerful point, because that's what I keep saying. For those of y'all who upset and angry with me right now for saying Barack Obama was not a black president, that's what he said. This is what he's talking about. When he was talking about a black president, he was talking about somebody that was born on this land as a Negro, being descended from slaves. That's what Dr. King was talking about. Dr. King was not talking about, oh, you just got the color black, so you black. That wasn't what he was talking about. He made that clear in this short statement that he just made. That is not what he was talking about. Larry Elder.
It's nice to say other people were down and they got up. They were not slaves on American soil.
It was not slaves.
The other thing is that the Negro has had high visibility. And because of the prejudices existing in this country, his color,
systemic racism,
has been against him. It's been against him, and they've used this to keep him from moving up. And the final analysis, when you say to a man that you are in this position because of your race or because of your color, you say to that man that he can never get out of it. Other racial groups have been able maybe to change the accent or change the name, but the Negro can't.
Like every time black people do create these systems that are our systems and
Tell 'em,
are the entrepreneurs, it seems like white supremacy finds a way to destroy it.
Every time, look, the Tulsa massacre, within about 5 years, that whole area was rebuilt. It was not even...
Now he's talking about where Black Wall Street got destroyed. Then he said within 5 years it was rebuilt. But watch how our sister come back order for that. Because as he said, I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Okay, but they still ain't want to give him reparations or anything, right? And our sister going to come back with
it. It was not even called the Black Wall Street until after it was rebuilt. And it was rebuilt, by the way, by black people without one dime of government money.
Yeah, but who destroyed it to begin with?
It was right. Racism destroyed it. No question about it. We've had race riots, but so have Japanese.
So you do agree that there's racism? I'm just so confused.
You know, I never even came close to saying. I never came close to saying there was no racism. Not anymore. Obviously, there was. We had something called slavery. We had something called Jim Crow.
That destroyed black Hold on, sir. That was system that destroyed. That was the system that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants, because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And
they don't even want to pay them. The same system. They owe them money for what they did. They don't even want to give them that. The system. Go ahead, sis. Get him.
And then you move, and then you go on to say that the system, the quote unquote system, is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on, do you?
And then I still, as I'm looking at these clips, I'm like, and where y'all say he destroyed them at? Him and John Whitlock laughing. You wiped them up. Where? That one little clip they keep showing of him getting smart with Charlemagne. That's the only jab he won. All the other stuff he just talked over and talked around, as politicians do.
Do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir, and that's what's so confusing to me. You just said it wasn't racism. Now it is racism. When it was time.
I said exactly.
I said it wasn't.
I would like to point this out, Mr. Rustin. If you have 100 people.
Now I want this to play. I don't understand why I keep skipping. I'm going to figure that out.
Who work for you for nothing for a week. You make a profit. If you have 1 million people who work for you for nothing for a year, you become wealthy. Well, then when you have millions of black people whom you can work for nothing for 310 years, you can easily see why America became the wealthiest and the most powerful country on earth faster than any country in history. But here you have 20 million black people today whose parents were worked for 310 years for nothing. What do they have coming for them? Not only did their parents work 310 years for nothing like an animal, but their parents also were the most faithful soldiers that the master had. What payment have they gotten? And today, they're not asking for much. They're not asking for what someone else would ask. Instead of asking for something that's real, they're asking their master to let them occupy one of the rooms in his house.
Think about that. Think about that. Really think about that. I feel like they call me like, think. Think about that. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Our people is really not asking for much, but just to be recognized, just to be respected, just to be able to be a part of it, a part of things. So much so that they do stuff to try to contribute to this, that. It's like, what is going on here? And they still don't want to give you that. Oh my goodness gracious alive.
One of the rooms with him in his house. Now, this is still not asking for something. If America gave the black man here half of this country, they wouldn't be giving us anything. They worked our mothers and fathers for 310 years with no pay. The Senate, the Congress, and the U.S. Supreme Court found it necessary to appropriate funds to repay billions of dollars to the Indians for land that was taken from the Indians 300 or 400 years ago. And if this generation...
Think about that. Everybody give it. Larry Elder on his show with Charlemagne and them. Larry Elder makes a claim. He talks about Japan when the thing was going on with the war between America and Japan. At the Pearl Harbor was bombed and all that, and they had these little prison camps set up, and they locked all the Japanese people up and took away their businesses, their companies, everything, locked them up. In America, locked them up, right? After that was over, they didn't just let them go and say, okay, sorry, guys. And so they gave them reparations. They gave them reparations. He left that part out. Larry Elder didn't talk about that part. I'm like, y'all like ask him about what happened? I said, he must don't know the history on it. They gave them reparations. They just let even with the thing with China, That's why China was able to buy up and control so much stuff. They gave them reparations and just say, oh, well, everything's good and dandy. The only people they say, oh, well, everything good and dandy is us. That's it.
Of whites will recognize a debt incurred by the former generations of whites to the former generations of Indians, then this same generation of whites also must recognize debts incurred by the former generations of white to you and my forefathers. And if their own courts decree that they should pay the Indian today for what was done to the former generations of Indians, don't you think that God is more just than the court system of America? And if the court system of America says that the Indians must be paid, what do you think God would say that America must do in payment to 20 million black people who worked here for nothing for 310 years?
Think about that. What y'all think about that? Think about that. So again, as we look at this, did he really win? Everybody was running around talking about how he won. He showed Charlemagne and they know they better just keep their mouth shut. Breakfast Club lost. He destroyed them. What are y'all talking about? Destroyed who? Like, I was confused. I said, he destroyed them. He won. Everybody lost. Like, what are y'all talking about? He won. Everybody lost. Get out of here. Like, y'all are talking crazy. So with that being done, we're at the end of the show for the night. Next week, we're going to talk about this pill that they call the black pill. That's the pill that like to reveal stuff. Pill that like to break down secrets. So if y'all want to hear about all that stuff, we're going to definitely get into it next week. I'm going to practice using this software so I can get it more together like I did with my other software. So the show can be even better. But again and again, like I said, if y'all want to hear that next week, we going in on this black pill, and we're going to talk about it and expose some different things and go from there. So again, with that being said and done, I appreciate each and every one of y'all for logging on with me tonight, and I will talk to all of you next week. All right, everyone. Shalom.